Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to my podcast today. And the topic of discussion today will be on documents and records. It's the 16th day of December 2024, 9 days to Christmas or Noel or Xmas, whatever you call it. I know that my colleagues in Ethiopia celebrate the Christmas time, first week of January, because they follow the Gregorian calendar instead of the Julian calendar. And whatever you are, whatever you're doing, spending time with family, at work, whatever you're doing, have a very good time. And our learning objectives for today would be to explain the difference between documents and records. What is a document and what is a record? Describe the hierarchy of documents and the role of each level. Outline the contents of a quality manual. Outline the contents that should be included in a standard operating procedure, explain the important steps or elements of a laboratory document management system, and lastly, describe methods and tools to properly store documents and records. A cornerstone of the quality management system, documentation ensures standardization, which is paramount to quality management. And the policies, procedures, and instructional guides will define the quality management system and give direction for the laboratory and supporting processes. They should be available for staff to use for reference, and they should be current. Let's lay down a scenario as usual. And this scenario is that you have found all these papers lying on a desk. Which of these are documents and which are records? You have found all these following papers lying on a desk. Which of these are documents and which are records? Testing algorithm, safety manual, client test results, standard operating procedures for an approved HIV rapid test, manufacturer test kit inserts, summary of findings from on-site evaluation visit, report of corrective actions, temperature log, blank form, quality control record, blank form, daily maintenance log, completed, stock cards and stock book, completed, and lastly, EQS specimen transfer log, completed. So of these, which are documents and which are records? Why do laboratories need to manage documents and records? Essentially, it is to find information whenever it is needed. That is why we need to manage documents and records, to enable us find information whenever it is needed. How do documents and records differ? Documents communicate information via policies, processes, and procedures, and need updating. Records, on the other hand, capture information on worksheets, forms, labels, and charts, and they are permanent and do not change. So essentially, to put it in perspective, the Bible, the Holy Bible, the Holy Quran, or other religious books, those are records. What we find in archives, those are records. Yesterday's newspaper or today's newspaper, those are records, because it has already happened, it has already been written down, it has already been printed, and it is not changeable. Documents, on the other hand, need updating, as I've indicated just a few moments ago, and they communicate information via policies, processes, and procedures. Information is the major product of the laboratory, if not the only product, unless you're producing something. But information is the major product of the laboratory. And this is managed via laboratory documents consisting of processes, policies, and procedures. And we are going to define this and discuss this in greater detail. So, policies tell us what to do. Policies tell us what to do. According to the Clinical Laboratory Standards Institute, standard HS1 A3, a policy is a written statement of overall intentions and directions defined by those in the organization and endorsed by management. So important that it is an intention and gives directions, and it is defined by those in the organization, and critically, it is endorsed by management. Policies tell what to do, as I've indicated, in a broad and general way. Policies also include the organizational mission, goals, and purpose. They serve as the framework for the quality system and should always be specified in the quality manual. Processes, on the other hand, is the how it happens. Policies was what to do, processes how it happens. According to ISO 9000 clause 4.3.1, process is a set of interrelated or interacting activities that transform inputs into outputs. Processes is a set of interrelated or interacting activities that transform inputs into outputs. Processes describe the steps involved to carry out quality policies. They are easily presented in flowcharts and involve a series of steps, usually occurring over a period of time. So you can actually determine how long the time takes for a particular process to occur. And the procedures, how to do it. Procedures define how to do it. So standard operating procedures is a procedure, and this is a step-by-step instruction for performing a single activity, like gram stain. So how do you perform a gram stain? That is a standard operating procedure, from how to, the materials, the methods, the results, the interpretation, and limitations. And the job aid is a shortened version of the SOP, but does not replace the SOP. Essentially, as I call it, is a cheat sheet, just a one-pager showing the major elements of the standard operating procedure. Now, if you imagine a tree, then the roots are the policies describing what to do. The stem is the processes defining how it happens, and the branches and the leaves are the procedures defining how to do it. Why are documents important? Documents are essential guidelines for laboratory quality manual, standard operating procedures, and reference materials. They are required by formal laboratory standards. So it's a requirement that we must have documents, which like quality manual, the SOPs and reference materials, as I've indicated. And they are the communicators of the quality management system, because verbal instructions are often not heard or misunderstood, quickly forgotten, and are difficult to follow. Now, imagine if you take a number of people and put them on a line, say 10 people, 11 people, 20 people, and whisper instructions to the first person, or a sentence, or whatever it is, and tell them or ask them to whisper in the ears of the person in front of them. By the time you reach the end, the information that you get at the end is totally different from what you whispered in the beginning of the line. Now, that is essentially the major and biggest drawback of verbal instructions. Documents are a reflection of the laboratory's organization and its quality management. So how well your documents are laid out, how well they are written, is a reflection on your organization and your quality management. And importantly, it is a reflection on the management of the laboratory, the lab manager and the lab director. And a good rule to follow, which I follow also, is do what you write and write what you are doing. And rule of thumb is, if it's not written, it's not been done. If it has been done, then it must be written. So whatever you write, you do. And whatever you do, you write. That is the basic tenet of documents in the laboratory or any other place that you're working. Good documents are clear, concise, do not be overly verbose in your documentation. The documents are user-friendly. You don't need instructions upon instructions on how to use a document. Documents must be explicit, accurate, and up-to-date. Documents which are not up-to-date must be removed from circulation. Documents for work processes should be accessible to staff at their work site. You can have an extremely good document, but if it's in a shelf or it's in your hard drive and it's not available for the end user, then it's useless piece of paper and useless piece of soft copy, because it's not helping anybody. And they describe instructions on handling, for example, incoming samples, SOPs for each test, quality control charts and troubleshooting instructions, and safety manuals and precautions. Now, the quality manual is a document describing the quality management system of an organization according to ISO 15189. And everything that we do is based off and coming off of our quality manual. Quality manual is the mothership, and everything else is derived from that. So this quality manual communicates information and serves as a framework or roadmap for meeting quality management system requirements, and demonstrates management commitment to quality. So you don't again copy paste from another institution, from another lab, because there are nuances, there are subtleties which would be different from institution to institution, from laboratory to laboratory, and these must be very clearly defined in your own quality manual. The style and structure are flexible, as I've indicated. Don't take what belongs to a lab 10,000 miles away, 10,000 kilometers away, and just copy paste it and use it now. So you have to make one which serves you best. And so like I said, make it to best meet the needs of the laboratory and its customers. What works for you is what you need to have. So in writing a quality manual, this is based off of the ISO 15189, as I've indicated, and it is a set policy for the 12 quality management system essentials: organization, personnel, equipment, information management, faculty, facilities and safety, organization, and all of those other quality management system essentials, and describes how the related quality processes occur. Now, the key points in the quality manual are: there is only one version for the laboratory at any particular time. You cannot have more than one version of the quality manual circulating, and it is never done. So it is always being improved. It is always a work in process, because as things change, as you improve your processes, as you introduce new test procedures, then these are going to be reflected on an improved version of the quality manual. It must be read and accepted by everyone who uses it, and we should use the best adapted language. Are using American English, are using British English, are using Swahili, are using Hausa, whatever language that you use, the language that is accepted and can be read by everyone. It's a very big job, but it's very useful. So let's look in detail at one of the documents that we use in the laboratory, and that is the Standard Operating Procedures, or SOPs. And these are documents that describe how to perform a test using step-by-step instructions. Written SOPs help ensure consistency accuracy, and quality. Indeed, all tests come with an insert, but the insert is not used wholesale. We know from our discussion previously in other podcasts that we must perform a verification of the test. We must determine that the test is working the way it should work, not according to the manufacturer's claims. And then after that, we adopt the test. Then only after adopting the test, then we derive the standard operating procedure from the user manual of the insert. There could be slight variations because the SOP will tell you where to find item 1 in your laboratory, which is not indicated in the user manual. A good standard operating procedure provides detailed, clear, and concise direction for testing techniques, is easily understood by new personnel, is reviewed and approved by management, and is updated on a regular basis. The SOP can be updated annually or can be updated whenever there is a variation or an improvement of a test procedure. So we have standardized SOP formats. Basically, you have the title, and you have the version numbers, the references, the page numbers. You have the author name and signature, the reviewer name, the QA reviewer name, and the approver name, and title and date. So these are important elements that must be included in the headers of the SOP. Then you have the principles of the test, you have the procedure, you have the results, interpretation of the results, and any limitations of the test, and how to communicate those results. So basically, that is what we have in a standardized SOP format. As indicated, you have the title, you have the department. For example, if it is XYZ microbiology department, policy and procedure manual, you have the policy number, you have page number, you have the section, issued by lab manager or lab director and approved by lab director, or the original date, the revision date, and annual review date. All of these are indicated, and this is used at the top of the first page only. On the other pages, we reduce the standardized header and we only include the running title, the policy number, and the page number. When we are preparing standard operating procedures, we have to, 1, determine the procedure to use, assess the scientific validity. Is it scientifically valid or not? And if it is not, then we don't use it. Include each and every step of the procedure, so it should be unambiguous and it should be easily understood by the newest member of the team. Gather all of the documents that are required to write the SOP together, and then establish means for updating the SOP. So all of this is premised on the request. First, there has to be a request, either by the end user or by the section or department, that they want to write a new SOP, and then there'll be a document which would be the document for requesting, and then this will be approved by the lab director. Then after that, the SOP would be written. Do not attempt to write SOPs for the end user. Let them write it the best way they know how. Your job is to review and recommend any changes or any improvements, and then after that, approve. So I have discussed in detail the suggested outline for the SOPs. That is the title, indicate the name of the test, the purpose, whether for medical use, and the instructions, pre-examination, examination, and post-examination. and also references to verify the method is established. Please do not use search engines and say, you reference Google. No, you have to reference established and literature, which is from reputable scientific journals or from the manufacturer. They also indicate the author's name and the approval signature, initials, and date. I had indicated that you should not be overly verbose, that is, avoid drowning in detail. And allow me at this point to just read to you a terrible example of what should not be in an SOP. So it says the purpose of this procedure is to document the aforementioned activities herein after referred to as the prescribed tasks in terms that preclude their execution in an inconsistent manner, wherein such inconsistency may potentially result in the prescribed task delivering a result that is not repeatable or reproducible. That is hogwash. That is a lot of balderdash. Don't use it. Do not rely solely on manufacturer product inserts, as I've emphasized and re-emphasized again and again, because inserts do not provide specific information for test sites, such as what are the materials required, what are the specific safety requirements, and the external quality control requirements. These are not provided for in the inserts, but these are specific, as I've indicated, to your laboratory, wherever you may be. The job aid, that is the cheat sheet, is a shortened version of SOPs. It could be handwritten or it could be printed, but it must be put in a visible location at the test site. So if you're working on the bench, then it could be just slightly at eye level so that you are able to easily see it. It's a useful tool to assure all testing steps are correctly performed. However, it does not replace the standard operating procedure. That must be clearly understood. So the job aid, is something that you use to quickly refer to, but the SOP has also to be available at the workbench, so that when you need to refer to detailed instructions, then you go to the SOP. But the job aid would help in that. Now, after we've done all of that, we've prepared the document. We've prepared like the standard operating procedure, the quality manual, and all the other things. We need to control these documents, and this assures that the most current version is used. That is, we must remove from circulation all of the older versions, and this ensures availability when needed, and it's an extremely good organizational tool. So you want to ensure whether you are archiving, and we had discussed this earlier in information management, whether you're archiving or you're destroying it, but that you can reach what you had referred to earlier, but only that the current version is available for use on a daily basis. The document control elements are one, system for organizing, such as numbering or recording system. Two, approval, distribution, and revision process. Three, a master log that describes which documents are in circulation. Four, accessibility of documents at the point of use. And five, system for archiving. So some of the documents that are controlled are like the SOPs that we have discussed previously, regulations and standards, equipment service manuals, texts, articles, and reference books. All of these are controlled documents, and they must be indicated so in the documents. Documents of external origin, which can be included in the lab document control system. For example, an external standard operating procedure, instrument service manuals, industry regulations, ISO standards, and references used for documentation. All of these can and must be included in the document control system. And usually in my lab would have a stamp indicating that it's an external document and the date that it was adopted and being used and which version it is. So the numbering system needs to be uniform and completely understood, and we should not change a current system that works. If it's not broken, don't fix it. It has to be one system. For example, letter for the type of document, and then an increment number for that would be, for example, B1, B2, B3 for books, and T1, T2 for official text, and so on and so forth. Number all pages of the document, page 1 of 10, page 2 of 10, page 3 of 10, up to page 10 of 10. And reference by document code, pages, location code, book, for example, book number 2, pages 188 to 200 on bookshelf number 1, B2, that is book 2, pages 188 to 200 on bookshelf number 1. So let's touch a little bit on document preparation and control process. The first, I talked about, request to prepare the document, and the second stage is preparation of the document, then review stage, where amendments, corrections, suggestions are indicated, comments, and then it is revised. After completing the revision phase, then it goes for approval. After it is approved, it is issued for distribution. But even after issue for distribution, as we say that documents are live and they're continually improved, so there'll be continuous review, revision, approval, and issue for distribution. That is an endless cycle as long as the laboratory is working. In order to implement the document control, we need to collect existing documents and records, review and update them, and determine if there are any additional needs. Then after that, we develop or obtain documents, forms, worksheets, logbooks, reports, and importantly, we must involve all of these stakeholders. And the most important stakeholder here is the person who is performing the testing, and also the management. These are important people who must all be involved in this process. There are always problems to document control, and some of these are outdated documents, as indicated in document control, that you find that an outdated document is still in circulation, which it shouldn't be, or there are too many documents that are distributed and the system cannot be maintained. There's too much information that you don't know what is being used, where it is being used, and you just get confused. Use as few as possible documents to improve the efficiency of your laboratory. And also, sometimes there's lack of control of documents of external and internal origin. As we had indicated, it's extremely important that things like books, like external SOPs, reference materials, all of this have to be controlled, equipment manuals and things like that. So that's documents. Let's look at records and why are they essential. Records are means of continuous monitoring of the quality system, and we use it as a management tool to identify problems, for example, like sample tracking throughout the process. So it's important that we are able to use records. And in laboratory records, so these are things like workbooks and worksheets, instrument printouts, maintenance records, quality control data, EQA and proficiency testing records, patient test reports, and sample logbook or register. All of these are records that are found in the laboratory. Let me go through this one more time. Workbooks and worksheets, instrument printouts, maintenance records, quality control data, EQA and PT records, patient test reports, and lastly, sample logbook or register. More examples of records are personnel records, Now, these personal records, we're going to discuss this in more detail when we discuss personnel as a separate podcast. Um, and they are slightly different from the human resource records. Internal audit results, external audit results, continuous improvement, user surveys, customer feedback, and critical communications. Um, my experience is that there are some emails. How many times have you looked for a particular email and you haven't found it? So if the email is an official email pertaining to the business in the laboratory, print it out and file it. And also create folders in the lab computer so that you're able to easily find those emails years later. This would save you even your job. I know it has saved mine several times. Now, keep the things you might forget, like disposition of rejected samples, referral of samples to another laboratory, a reference lab, or a partner laboratory, records of adverse occurrences or problems. I always find this helpful that before anybody else reports adverse occurrences or problems in my laboratory, I report them myself. And in one of the laboratories I worked for, which was associated with the military, there were set times to the minute upon which you are required to report these adverse occurrences or problems. And if you did not report them, you just don't bother coming to work the next day because you'll be fired. So it's critically important that you have those records. Also, inventory and storage records are important. And lastly, equipment purchase data, preventive maintenance, and troubleshooting. Even in my own personal life, whenever we procure an equipment, whether it's a TV, it's a washing machine, blender, gym equipment, we always indicate the date of purchase, both in the user manual and on the equipment themselves. It helps you track the usage and also the age of equipment, and this comes in handy when you need to write a justification to replace the equipment. Test report contents according to the ISO 15189 requires the test identification, the laboratory identification, patient unique identification and location, name and address of the requester, date and time of collection, time of receipt in lab, date and time of release of report, primary sample type, results in SI units, biological reference intervals, interpretive comments, person authorizing release with signature when possible, and note if reporting a corrected result. All of these are elements which must be included in the test report. Now, my feelings about paper systems, that I would rather have an electronic system, and everybody's moving towards that. But slowly, not everybody has an electronic system, so we still have to consider paper systems. We have to consider their permanence, like we need to bind them into books and number the pages, use permanent ink that is not erasable, so we cannot use pencil, and we should also control the storage. And also look at the accessibility. We should use a system that will allow ease of access and security, that we should be able to maintain confidentiality. Not everybody should be able to access these paper systems, so they should be under lock and key and only allow authorized access. We need to keep them safe from environmental hazards like infestation by animals, fungal growth. So we need to climate control the area where we are keeping the papers, and also provide for traceability, that is allow for tracking of a specimen throughout all processes. But you visit some laboratories and you find all of these books, all of these papers, they are in an untidy heap in some corner and forgotten about it. You cannot trace which was the first book that was used, which was the second one, and which is currently the one that is being used. And that brings me to my default system, the electronic systems. They have a sense of permanence because we make backups, but it is also important, like I've always said, that backups should both be on-site and off-site. Whatever happens on-site, that we can still access our data, and also ensure that it is backed up regularly. Regularly could be daily, could be every 2 days, could be weekly, could be monthly, but whatever it is, the more frequent the backup, the better. And security is important. Ensure that you train your personnel not to share their login details. People must log or switch off their computers even when they're stepping aside to go to the next room or to the washroom or taking a coffee break, leaving for lunch or leaving for the day. The computer systems must be locked down. And so this brings me to the factors that affect retention times of records. And the most important of this is the national legislation and regulation. We must obey the laws of the land and be familiar with the codified laws on how long particular records need to be retained. And the other determining factor is research purposes. The research funders would indicate how long the records need to be kept. The third factor that affects records retention time is time between assessments and audits. So the assessors or the auditors may want you to refer to older versions of documents, so they should be there. And lastly, the testing process review. All of these 4 factors affect the retention times of records. So in summary, documents include written policies, processes, and procedures, and need to be updated and maintained. Records, on the other hand, include information captured in processes, are permanent, and do not require updating. A good document control program ensures that most current version is used, and availability and ease of access is also ensured. The key message from this podcast is that information is our product from the laboratory. That is what we produce in the laboratory. And documents are essential for assuring accuracy and consistency in the laboratory. So I had laid out at the beginning of this podcast a scenario, and it was, you have found all these papers lying on the desk. Which of these are documents and which are records? So documents are, testing algorithm is a document, safety manual is a document, SOPs is a document, a manufacturer test kit insert is a document, temperature log blank form is a document, quality control record blank form is a document. Records are all the other ones that are listed there. So thank you very much. I welcome your questions, your comments, your concerns. Please visit my YouTube channel, and while there, ensure that you subscribe, you like, and share as much as possible. I don't mind. Let me know your concerns, your comments, your suggestions, and I thank you for all of you who write back to me and indicate how we can improve this podcast series. So don't forget to like and to subscribe. Also, you can get in touch with me through the comment sections or write to me directly via joundo664@gmail.com. joundo664@gmail.com. Thank you and bye-bye.